Hey, we're two fat guys, and we just watched Batman Begins. Sure did. I, who was watching this movie that is not? Who's watching this video who has not seen this movie? Clayton, Steve's seen it. The people that you know that watch it, have they seen it? So everyone has seen it. Yep. So Morgan Freeman's amazing. Michael Caine's amazing. Everyone else is Batman. Or Liam Neeson. He's kind of Batman. Cillian Murphy's great. Great cast. Still gonna be a little excited for Dark Knight Rises though. It's the first of that series. Yeah. So yeah, I guess we should talk about how that's the reason that we're doing this. So maybe. Yeah, I'm a little excited. Cillian Murphy's great performance as Dr. Crane of this, the Scarecrow. Oh yeah. Is solid use of him. Apparently, I'm glad they did. Christopher Nolan didn't want to go with the mask for the longest time. And the screenwriter David Goyer talked him into it. I'm glad they did because it still feels very real. He's not like because the mask is just like hey for funsies, and then it's all of the hallucinations. Yeah, plays him with it's a gas mask, so he doesn't get hit by it. So it's a practical effect, and also that way they have something to hallucinate on, so they're not just like freaking out anxiety. They're specifically afraid of Crane. Yeah. So nice practical use of it. I love that he returns in The Dark Knight. Yeah, as a drug dealer, like a shady underground. And I'm really excited because reportedly he's back in Dark Knight Rises. I was like, I feel like he'd have to have that little callback in Dark Knight. Because that just shows you how shitty these Gotham prisons are. Because Batman can catch these fuckers as often as he wants. They're just gonna get out of prison. Like that's just the way it works. This is a revolving fucking door at Arkham Asylum. Yeah, all the supporting cast is phenomenal. Lucius Fox, he wasn't in any of the previous films. I'm glad he's in this one. I'm assuming they felt like, get a little diluted with him and Alfred. Although they didn't really want to cover the stuff that Lucius Fox is there for, to explain. Yeah, it was like Batman already had all these things. All the other films took, and it's not a bad thing because Batman's so pop culture at this point. It's not wrong. Batman's this billionaire who has all this stuff. So no one's sitting in the audience going like, "Well, where did he get that?" Yeah, so the fact that they addressed it, Jesus. They go over a little bit of it. It doesn't weigh it down. It doesn't feel like, we know, get on with it. It feels nice and organic. It builds. Jim Gordon's story arc, just going back to this, especially over the two, he got to Commissioner way faster than I thought he would in this series. I thought, at the start of this movie, he would be Commissioner. Going into the third movie, I thought, okay, well, in the third movie, you'll find out that he got promoted to Commissioner. Because really, I know more time has passed and more things have happened, but just in the movies, it happens halfway through two. I remember thinking, everyone above him died. It also comes from me, this was inspired a lot, among other things, by Batman Year One, and then things that were inspired by that, Long Halloween, things like that. But in Year One, he's the starting cop. He is the lowest of the low beat cop. He just moved off and just joined the force, transferred in. So in my mind, even though Jim Gordon may be a little more established here, a little older, in my mind, he was still that. So maybe that's what's doing it. Yeah. But still, great performance from him. Yeah, Gary Oldman's great writing on all that. King Joffrey's on it. Yeah, King Joffrey, that son of a bitch. I remember finding out when he got cast, I was like, it's this kid from Batman's going to be Joffrey. That'll be weird. And then I immediately hated him the second I saw him. And I was like, fuck this guy. Fuck this guy. He's a little, in my mom's words, a little shit. I can see that. I can see your mom saying that. Yeah, she's not a fan of Joffrey. Even he hadn't said anything yet. He just showed up in front of Sansa and I was like, this kid's the worst. I don't like this kid. He has a bit of a douche face going on, though. Oh, yeah. So that acceptable, bedraggled little kid is going to be a douche face. There's good work in it. There's good extra character work in it, so live it up, douche face. Good for you. I really like the universe, though. I like what they've built. Yeah. I hope that they don't... I'm interested to see how they adapt some of the Bane, and if they do more stuff with Ra's al Ghul, how they adapt sort of those things in the League of Shadows, the things that are normally very supernatural in the Batman mythos, into a more realistic sense. And I hope they don't avoid things that we can't think of a realistic way to do it. And you can secretly Man-Bat, isn't it? Yeah, you can do some sort of Well, speaking of like a Man-Bat, something ridiculous, like in The Amazing Spider-Man, like the lizard, the way they did it felt very textured and like a more down-to-earth. Like it's still science fiction. It's still very outlandish. Not doesn't happen in the real world. But if you treat it with 100% seriousness and just make it feel like it's in that world, then you get a lot out of that. And I hope, I hope they can do that with a lot of the stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, it was very grounded, and I think that's absolutely what Nolan wants out of all of this. Mm-hmm. For it to be very grounded. I like the way to kind of get away with that for Scarecrow because you see it through hallucinations, so it can be a little more fantastical than it would actually look, and but you still get to see that on screen, and that's kind of cool how they did that.
I would love to see this series go on for. I'd love to see them instead of doing a reboot to get ready for whatever Justice League movie they eventually do. I'd love to see them do just more movies in the same time. Like it's a new Batman, deal with it, but it's the same sort of setting. We're gonna keep all the events that happen, keep the sort of backstory for the character, and just because then you get a chance to keep building on this sort of textured world. Because if you do a reboot, at a certain point it's like, well, why don't you do the Joker? Batman has to fight the Joker. This is a new Batman. You have to have the Joker. We want to see Catwoman. We want to see all these things that they sort of already done. Whereas if you keep going, like at this point, I'm surprised they didn't do in this movie. The Riddler come in, the Riddler, the Penguin, these characters that would fit very well with that sort of setting. And also, I think if you get away from Christopher Nolan, there might be some more people who's willing to try a little more troubling stuff, like maybe a Clayface in this sort of setting, which you could do. You could make it work. There are a couple different ways you can go about it, ranging in levels of fantasticness. But just instead of having to do reboot, that's my biggest concern about a reboot. Is the second they reboot Batman, I'm like, well, he needs to fight the Joker again because that's what Batman does. Batman fights the Joker, and then there's another Joker. And I'm sorry, Heath Ledger was fantastic. And at this point, between Heath Ledger and Jack Nicholson, like I don't know where you're gonna hit. I don't know where you're gonna hit that's still the Joker, unless they get Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do for the Joker.
Maybe that's the plan. Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. I like Justice League movie.
I like that our Batman Begins video became a mini preview for Dark Knight Rises.
Well, it's gonna be. Well, I mean, we talked a little bit now, and we'll probably talk a little bit about it more after Dark Knight. But I mean, that's kind of what, like I said, everyone's seen Batman Begins, so it's gonna.
Yeah. I remember when the movie first came out, I was concerned about Rachel Dawes' character, sort of just made up character, and like, oh, we gotta get Batman as love interest, someone to bounce off of. Which
she's not from the comics?
No, she's not. She's entirely invented for this. I do tell you that I think it works better than in the other movies where like, well, Batman needs love interest, so we'll just throw in this random woman.
Vicky Vale.
Well, they don't throw in Vicky Vale. That's the thing. Vicky Vale would be sort of a recurring character of Veronica Vreeland, who I always forget from the animated series, is in a lot to sort of fill those roles. But in, like when they had like the psychiatrist, the reporter, just the random woman in Batman and Robin, like it's some supermodel who's dating, who knows. With the exception of Selena Kyle, like none of them had any actual impact on the story. It was just sort of a thing they threw in. So this at least gives it a little more real. Like, okay, here's the backstory of this character, a little play with it.
And then spoilers, you get to kill her.
Yeah. So that worked well. Yeah. And the fact that she's dead now, I'm like, okay, well that gets Batman back to sort of a comic neutral state.
Yeah.
Because he can't settle down with this one great love, because Batman has one great love, and it's Batman.
Yep.
It's
punching people.
It's Lady Justice. This is one true love. So that's Batman Begins. I feel I enjoyed it. I'm glad we watched it. I feel like whenever I watch the movie, I always think, man, it's been a long time since I watched it. When I know I've watched this in the last 6 months.
I've seen it probably within the last 3 months. And yeah, but still good.
Yeah. So let's see. Next one, we got The Watchmen.
The Watchmen. Probably not going to get to that.
The big.
Again, probably not.
12:30 in the morning. We could do it. It'd be crazy. I don't want to. And no state of me wants to do that. But we're not doing it. We're not doing it. But so we will save that tasty, tasty blue penis for another day.
I'm not okay with that metaphor.
No, I mean, human flesh is delicious, is what I'm saying.
I'm not okay with that metaphor.
Well, blue human flesh. I've eaten Smurfs, is what I'm saying. And I assume it tastes the same.
That's racist, for one.
Well, the Navi tastes like the Smurfs, okay? That's a fact.
I can't be a part of this anymore. And I can't stop the video either.
You can't stop this video. I will be heard!